Have breaking news today. The long-running hacker convention DEFCON has been canceled. We have breaking news today.
So we can go to the next slide. Right here. Next slide, please. There. And another example of what I found, it's 35 gigs of mammographies, again with all the patient data blurred on the right.
The time is 4:00 p.m.
Yeah, there's only one server. It's only 3 servers that I sampled. I was kind of, how do you say it? I was pretty sure that at some point they're gonna get my computer or my laptop, so I deleted everything. I run like 3 cycles of shredders. So at the end, I don't have a lot of that information at the time. I just thought it was better to get rid of them. Next one, please. So again, I'm saying a lot of so I'm gonna try not to. So I counted doc files, TXT, PDFs, and over 4 million files. But I didn't count other types. Photographs, for example, zip files that had a lot of backups of many servers. Next slide, please. In this slide, you can see, for example, in this image, you can see pills, the word pills in Spanish, which is píldora, and how many files with the name píldora and format spreadsheet format, and there were 120. And this is the after pill or emergency pill. And if you see data, if you get inside those files, you could see reasons why they were asking those pills. Some they were abused, some girls were raped. You could even see the situations. Okay, next one, please. Please.
Okay. Fortune's worth I can really send the drill right now. That's not an issue. I'm gonna do that right now. Just don't hold.
Getting audio inside. Next one. And in this, no, the one before. One back, please, sir. In this one, I was looking for files with the word it's HIV in Spanish mostly, and I found 772 files, and you can see the file names. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know if you can read them, but believe me that they were IP addresses followed by the name, and then I could retrieve them and send them to the journalist. They were looking for bad stuff, you know. They were asking me, give me the worst. We want the worst. We want everything that you can give us that will be pretty bad regarding to the laws and regarding the public interest. The next one, I'm about to finish, so be patient. I know it's been long. I'm feeling it. Next one, not moving. So again, what happened? What was their strategy? The reason why they asked me for 3 places is they wanted to be sure that this was a more general problem, that they were trying to find proof that there was a widespread problem, like I said, because I was sure, you know, like I was telling them, I'm sure that this is not a thing about my computer, it's a network problem. And what they did is that they scheduled a meeting with this minister, with the health minister, of the head of the health department, and they never said that they were part of this group called CIPER. So they presented themselves as a random people who wanted to talk to her. So after a month, I guess, they talked to her, they went to her office, and they asked for her computer to show her the problem. And from her computer, they managed to download all this information that I've given them, the IP addresses, the address, the folder, and then you got many files with HIV patients. And the journalist told me, she was a white woman, though. She was shocked. Next one, please. And they were pretty badass, you know. They say, you got 24 hours to fix it. They never said they were from a journalist group. So at that point, the minister, she didn't know what would happen. She thought it was just a problem that they needed to fix. So what happened after that is that they published 24 hours later all this information that I'd given them, and it says in Spanish of course it's in Spanish, right? But it says 100,000 workers could, even companies that were giving services, or let's say outsourcing companies, they had access to all these files, and they put there that they have at least 3 million files that were unprotected. Next one, please. You can Google this information, and then all mainstream media pick up this information, even from other countries. I was checking everything from Colombia at the time. Even some Colombian newspapers pick up this information, and friends will tell me that it was all over the TV, all over, and I was receiving that. Some of the people tell me that some people wanted to talk to me at the office, but I was on vacation, so I was free of that. Next one, please. So they solved the problem in a couple of days, but what they did is they blocked the firewalls from every institution, right? So you couldn't access share folders from another institution, but you could still access all the share folders from behind your router, right? I even tested it. So you could access, for example, what it worked, I could access information from 5 hospitals, and I could still access a lot of information that it should have, they should have, like forced everyone to unshare those folders, because it's against the law to have personal data, sensitive data uh, exposed, right? But I'm gonna tell you later why this fix was enough for them. Next one, please. The funny thing is, not the funny, but the worst thing is that before doing all this leak to the press, we tested that in many places, 100% of the places that we tested, you only needed to connect to a network cable, and that was it. There were no restrictions. It's just connecting to any plug, and you will access to the entire network. So she was called to Congress to give an explanation, but she just lied. Again, she was saving a lot of people's asses. And the bad thing is that they created a feeling of panic, and nobody wanted to give you any information at all, not even the one they were required to give you, like they were like saying, no, because of what happened, I cannot give you anything. It's but I'm allowed to have it, internally as a part of the same institution. So it created a panic. And then they were not sharing any information, it created the opposite effect, like the extreme effect. And for me, it was a good. What happened afterward was good in my job, because they gave me, the director of the institution told me to create a security department specializing on finding these issues, right? But we were too against the world, nobody wanted to being told that they had a problem. So I found, for example, that they had default password in 5,000 email accounts, and I told them, and I did a presentation explaining them why it was bad, and their answer was crazy. They said public servants are public. No, it's wrongly proposed. I didn't say correctly. Since they were public servants, they say that their emails should be public. So for them, it was okay that you could log in from the internet, not even from the inside the network, from the internet. You could log in on their accounts and check their email. And inside those email accounts, they have patient information again. So at some point, we're just like, we're not going anywhere. It's just us against the world. Next one, please. So again, after the government change, after this right-wing government that created this scenario for demonstration that lasted for 5 months that I told you at the beginning, they fired me on the first day. First hour they sent me an email to fire me. But I knew it. They were gonna do it, so I was again on my holidays. I was on vacation. So that forced them to fire me by email. But that gave proof and evidence that they fired me with no reason, because they never gave a reason on the email, because they thought that they were entitled to, but they didn't know that the law, it's complicated, but they didn't know that the laws changed regarding whether you can fire without any cause a public employee. So they fired me, and a lot of projects that I was in charge of with the UCL, for example, University College of London, and the Johns Hopkins, which is the best university in the world regarding to the health sciences, but I sued them. I knew before they fired me that I could sue them. I knew exactly what part of the law changed. The Supreme Court ruled that every public servant, even though they had temporary contracts, they're allowed to be compensated if they had a permanent role. And I have a permanent role. So when they fire me, they were just like, nothing's gonna happen. Just fire this guy and that's it. But then I sue them. And that ended up in the media. They accused me of being a hacker, that I stole information, that I destroyed servers. And again, it was this lawsuit. It was just about proving that I worked there or not about me. But they're trying to, assassination of character, and they said I was a bad hacker, that I went to DEFCON. They even copy the screenshot of the talk that I give Sky Talks as a proof that I was bad, even though the talk was after I was fired. Next one, please. So after that, if this government is still in power, right? I've been banned from working with any government agency. I was about to do a pen test, and in the last day, they said that they lost their resources. But then a friend of mine told me, and even sent me the WhatsApp conversations, they told this person that she was going to be fired if she hired me. So I got very famous at the time in a bad way, but that didn't stop there. I wanted to know, because I did a formal investigation of what happened. I went there as a witness and blah, blah, blah. And I got the investigation report. I got the documents. They were over 1,200 pages. I have to pay $50 for them to give it to me, because they have to print it and they have to remove all the sensitive information, which is stupid, because they removed their email addresses that I could get easily. And I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know why nobody did anything, the reasons, or at least I wanted to know, even though I was a witness or I testified in a way, they never give me any feedback. They don't call you, tell you this is what happened, or no, nothing. And they just tell you, get the information using the proper channels. So I got this, next slide please. I got this big chunk of paper, it's like a big pile of papers. Next one, please. So I started to read them, thoroughly, every page, and they have a lot of people say that they didn't know me at all. A lot of people lied. They said that never received an email, never heard about it, that they didn't know about me. But then they have this part of the document. They say that it was possible to fix it, but they would have taken a big impact of their operation, which was not true, because they fixed it in a day without any disruption. And then they say that it's every person's responsibility, and it's a personal issue, which is not true, because the law entitles every person in charge of a sensitive information for patient data to be responsible for it. And this guy just, it's all about this typical thing about working in IT, that everyone blames the user. The same. It's the user's problem. If they share information, it's their problem. Next one, please. So this was the excuse number one. And then, excuse number two, again, another guy in the top rank of the institution said that it's, again, the user's responsibility, and it's very complex to identify these folders. And now you remember that the script that I ran, it was like 5 lines. It was really easy to do it. They had access to everything, all the tools that I didn't have. And the last one, again, 14 says, it's a fault. They're blaming the users again. They identify me because I should have informed them or my boss, which I did. And again, they didn't know anything about it. Even though I sent many emails, I tried to reach them in many channels, but nobody wanted to listen. Next one, please. One, the main reason, and this is like the most incredible thing that I discovered in this investigation, is the main excuse, even from the minister, is that the ISP provider, the internet provider, and the email provider, which is the same, they couldn't fix our email for a year. So the main person, the minister of the health department, didn't have an email working properly for a year, and that was the excuse. And even this email, it was sent by the ISP provider, which is a big contract. It's $4 million per month contract they have. They say it's correct. Her email didn't work for a year. So next one, please. So the latest update, because this happened 2 years ago, and November the 8th last year, it was the final step. The Supreme Court ruled in my favor, so they had to pay me $25,000 in compensations, which is not what I wanted, but it's not that bad. And next one, please. But the funny thing is that with that money, I had to pay the money that I spent going to DEFCON for 2 years. So I ended up with, I don't know, like $500. So what can we do to avoid these situations? In my country, as well as the entire world, we don't have a lot of people knowing that are expert in security. And people hiring, they don't even know what a computer science degree. It's different from here we have different types, but it's a technical degree. You know, they don't know the differences. So when they hire someone, they will ask you, do you know about security? And say, yeah, I did this certification. And say, oh, okay, so you're ready to help us with this issue. And it's the opposite. So we need to change our laws. I mean, we have the laws, but they're not enforced, right? I have these topics in my classes that I do in these masters, that I explain some things that happen in other problems that ended up nowhere. I mean, the CTO of this health department, he was fined with 10% of his salary for 1 month. That was the only punishment. And what I learned is that we need less rockstars and more mentors. And I'm actually mentoring a lot of students, 5 or 6. Well, now it's weird because of COVID, right? And everything stopped. But we're competing tomorrow actually with 4 of them in the OSINT Trace Lab CTF. Next one, please. So I think this is the last one. Well, me now, a lot of images of me sad or whatever. Next one, and I think it's the last one. Well, thank you. It was a long talk, a lot of problems involved. There's a link to the slides. That's my Twitter account and my LinkedIn account. I hope you liked it, and thank you to all of the organizers as well. I know that they're working a lot to get this through. Have a good day.
So that was an amazing talk, and I really apologize for all the technical issues or the audio issues that we had faced. So am I audible to everybody? If yes, please drop me some hearts. I need a review from everybody in the audience so that to make sure that everything is working fine. Awesome. So, like what Philip just said on stage, it takes a lot of courage to speak against the system, against your government, or what all the odd things are going in the society, but accepted by the masses. So it actually takes a lot of courage to speak that up, be it on some sort of virtual event, or even be it on physical event. So with that said, thanks a lot, Philip, for your talk. And up next we have Saracel and some other folks from DEFCON 201 group. So GI Jack, can you please head up on stage and set up your slides?
Let's start my life.
Yo.
Meet some other folks.
Awesome.
Okay.
So are you able to set up your slides? Or you can just ask Monster over there on the left corner of the stage to maneuver the slides for you.
Okay. We're trying to do this. Can you hear us all out there?
Mike, check. Can you hear us?
Microphone check.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, so are we good to go? Okay. Watch, we're gonna copyright slam for that random song I just made up.
Maybe.
It exists somewhere. Kill them, you know.
So, is our slides up on the screen?
Yep, we're gonna check.
Screen is still.
Not yet.
All right, so. Hold on, I've never done this before.
That's
All right,
that.
so how do I start presenting?
That's what she said.
How do we turn this on? Right. Postals. Amplify my voice.
We're getting there.
Go on air.
Drum roll.
Okay, so.
Alright.
Yeah, I can hear you in Discord. The mic should be live. Can you hear my
Check 1, 2.
We're checking the mics. Can you hear all three of us?
We're doing a mic check. Can you do mic checks?
We can hear you in the audience.
You can hear all three of us. Okay, so if that's true.
Alright guys, so this is TX, your host over here, and I'm gonna reset the space. So everybody please be here, and you all will be respawn on your original positions. So make sure that if you have any issues, let me or any of the moderators know. Thank you.
Oh, this is horrible. I know.
I'm muting.
All right, after 8 million years of trying to exit Vim, can everyone hear us?
All right, so can you hear my co-founder?
Are we on? Do you want me to sing a song? There's two microphones. You should be able to hear all three of us. Because nothing's simple when it comes to DEF CON. It should be. It never is. At least I'm getting these clock cycles down.
Okay.
This is some high quality. This makes radio start a little confident.
Awesome. So we have all the slides loaded up. Here we have GI Jack with Ceresil and Jordan White. Am I right?
Yay, I got doxxed!
Oh God.
I got doxxed! Yay! Oh man. Alright, so everyone I consume hear us out there in the VR world?
Can you hear us out there in TV land?
Oh,
Yes, no, maybe?
Looks like it.
It's-
People are responding.
seems like we
Jack,
have this.
Can you please ask your friend that is side pocket and get a little bit closer to the microphone?
Yeah, that's.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Awesome. Now it's good.
You know what we can
I'm gonna
actually
leave the
do?
stage.
If the cord's long enough.
Okay, so boost the volume a little bit. So,
Sit next to me.
all right,
The
so
mic.
DC 201 show and tell.
Hello, everyone out there. I hope you can all hear us now because F it, we're just going to wing it. Like a famous man said, F it, we'll do it live. And welcome. We're DEFCON 201 out here. And you probably, before we start, there's probably something you should wonder about. If anyone can do it, next slide.
Next!
Now, everyone, is someone alive with a pulse out there?
There we go.
There we go.
So-
So you're probably wondering who the F are us. So we're going to introduce all three of us. So first of all, the voice here on this end is Side Pocket. I'm one of the co-founders of DEFCON 201. I do most of the social media and event planning, including trying to prep for this wonderful nightmare that is the DEFCON Groups Village. I'm really impressed with everyone getting even this running. A bit of background about myself. I also... long time, that's how I met GI Jack. I was through MRC 2600. We're long-time alumni. We're going to get into part of how we figured out we should make a DEFCON group here. I'm also a long-time person of Phone Losers of America. I've done active stuff with Yes Men. I am a Tool member, and if you want to see what my face looks like after doxing me, you can go check the Mr. Robot Season 3 premiere or the Jack Ryan premiere. I was the guest extra hacker on that show. So next slide with the man himself. Jax. This is going to be fun.
Hi, what's it called? Hi, everybody. I'm G.I. Jack. I am actually a actual cockatoo. I'm the other co-founder of DC 201, also a 2600 alumni. Not quite as long-term as Mr. Pocket over here. I do the infrastructure and backend for DC 201. I maintain all the servers. What's it called? Well, I also the guy behind Ninja OS. It's a live OS based on Arch Linux.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that in a minute. And avid motorcycle. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, and I do much more. If you have any more questions about me, you can always ask me sometime in IRC, and the answer may or may not be sarcastic.
Next slide.
Next slide. Advanced slide. There we go. So, I'm the third guy. I just do things around here, I showed up from Long Island. Document work. I designed our flyers and a few of our graphical assets. And, that's generally where I am around here. Oh, and by the way, the awesome bird art, by the way, for each of us, is by a person on Twitter called Pockets. It's @_POCKETSS. No relation.
No relation.
Yeah. All right, advanced slide.
Because, we just like adopting pets here. I love this. This is like being on FTL. There we go. So, for all of you global people out there, and even in the United States, you're probably wondering, what is in New Jersey and where are we? So a couple of factors we're going to yell out. New Jersey is one of the 13 colonies that rebelled against the American Revolution. Yes, we're located in that third world nation that's in the United States. We're the home to many firsts. We're also home to the Jersey Shore, both the show and the place, and the Sopranos.
In the Socialist Republic? No, wait.
Yeah. Last the grant slaves their freedom. We ourselves are located in Jersey City and Hudson County. So for those who don't know what Hudson County is, if you look at the map on the screen, you should see friendly white families to the right of that. If it's colorblind, it's red. It says well-to-do conservatives, who I don't think are well-to-do anymore. Below that is hipsters, minorities. That's where Hudson County is. And yeah, does anyone have any more comments about New Jersey?
Right there.
So, yeah, basically, I came from Long Island. I can't really say anything.
Like literally, if he's from Long Island, he wasn't able to speak until he physically got to New Jersey.
Pretty much.
Glorious People's Republic of New Jersey. What's it called? I don't know what to say. It's home.
So next slide, advance, engage.
What factor 7 through Zulu?
There you
All
go.
right, there we go.
So we're not quite done with New Jersey because, and trust me, we'll go by this really fast because we want to get into some questions, hopefully from the audience. Something a lot of people don't know about with New Jersey is there's a lot of technological and just hacker AF stuff that's in our state, and we just thought we'd do a couple of highlights here. So first of all, way back, depending if you like the man or how most of us do now, we hate the man, Edison's original labs were located in Millennium Park and West Orange. These are all places in New Jersey, by the way. They've been either converted into museums or moved to other states and been converted into museums because, you know, we're basically New Jersey's a dumpster. You just pick stuff up and move them to other states. So you can thank particularly those labs for things like electricity, movies, things like that were directly invented there. Then a little bit later on, John von Neumann built what's known as the IAS machine, sometimes known as the von Neumann machine. You probably heard of a little guy known as Alan Turing. He's one of the people that conceptualized modern computing and also helped crack the Enigma machine along with the Polish Cipher Bureau. He had a concept for what a computer, a computational machine that could actually remember and store memory. And
He's where we get the von Neumann architecture from.
yes, and Neumann,
Von.
yes, teamed up at the Institute of Advanced Studies in this cesspool that's known as Princeton, New Jersey, and he stole basically $10 million, got yelled by the government, private industry, and everything else, and created the first machine that did functional stored state memory. So it could actually remember stuff and recall things back.
You say Princeton's a cesspool, but New Jersey's the cesspool.
Well, no, it's
just
well,
like,
no. Again, New Jersey is a pothole with potholes in it. It's great.
Right.
And then basically around 1940s, Bell Lab kind of got sick of New York City, and they decided to relocate with the finally relocations in 1967 at Murray Hill. They actually opened up a ton of locations. Murray Hill is the current last resting place of Bell Labs. You can see the photo in the slide, and it's now known as Nokia Bell Labs, kind of.
It's Nokia Bell Labs. For a time it was Novell. For a time it was SCO. Unix was invented
Yeah, I
there.
was going to say, 1969, Unix was invented right here in New Jersey.
There was a lot of stuff invented at Bell Labs. The first working transistors, solar power panel, one of the first working CRT color displays was invented here in the state. Also, the C language, Unix. We can't display video, but there's a hilarious, if you go into YouTube, search Bell Labs Unix, and I crap you not, there is a documentary that Bell Labs made called Unix Making Computers Easier to Use. So that's that. We're almost done. I don't quite know, and I believe 201 was the first area code, and if it's not, it's the first public.
No, actually, 201 is the first area code because in the old North American numbering plan.
Even if it wasn't, we're claiming that.
Well, this is the reason why we specifically rep 201 instead of 973 or anything else.
Yeah.
On the old North American number plan, you can't use a number 1.
Right.
What's it called? The middle digit has to. The middle digit has to be a 0 or a 1, and the end digits can't be a 0 or 1. So 201 is the lowest possible area code, and that's what New Jersey got as the first area code.
We're number one.
And just to know, when he says middle digit, he means the number sequence of the phone number, not another common middle digit. That's basically hello in New Jerseyan. But three last quick things.
That would be a 1.
Yes, back in at least it's not a number.
it's a 4 in
At least it's not a number 2, which is our government. But a few more quick points. way back, in, I believe it was 1990, the Secret Service actually set up a sting operation in Bergen County called Operation Cyber Snare, where they launched in Bergen County a BBS known as Celio 5-1. And then in 1995, I think the first main BBS arrest happened with 6 people from all over the place were indicted under hacker handles. If you remember, or hopefully try not to remember, GeoHotes, he hacked the iOS. He's more famous for hacking the PlayStation 3 and then got sued over it. We did a panel about it. We're going to explain that later. He actually is from Hackensack, New Jersey. And finally, if you remember, we were supposed to have a thing this year called DEFCON China. That got canceled real fast. Because Winnie the Pooh got canceled. But no, it's that, so the partnership with DEFCON China is a company called Baidu, and basically it's China's Google. And what a lot of people don't know about it is that Robin Li, that's his actual name, in China, all the back end for their entire system, including their main search engine, because they got the same start as Google being a search engine, was coded when he was working at IDD Information Services in New Jersey, which, if I remember correctly, is in Newark.
Oh wow.
So half of all of China's infrastructure is from code made in New Jersey. So that's that. So
Joy.
Speaking
That's
of
why
which,
they call us the People's Republic.
Yep. Let's get into actual DC-201 stuff. Next slide, please, kind sir. Kind person of nondescript gender, mineral, or vegetable.
There we go.
So for those who don't know, there have been 3 previous attempts to make a DC-201 in the past. All of them miserably failed. The last one went from like 2011 and tapered off somewhere around 2013. You can use the Wayback Machine to find out as someone just goes through our slides. We don't know why, because that's actually one of the reasons why our Twitter's off, because they have the original DEFCON 201 account on Twitter, and they moved to Georgia, which tells you a lot about them. We haven't heard from them ever since.
So we had to take DEFCON 201 NJ.
Yep, and we don't know why their meetings fizzled out, but we can make a guess, because who actually wants to go to Paramus?
Fucking Paramus.
I guess there's something wrong with every part of the state, and
Yeah.
I'm not that I actually want to go to Paramus.
Well, never mind. I mean, you've had
really
experience trying to go to NYC, 2600 meetings in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it's like part of that state where it's hard to get to with public transportation. It's not really much there. It's just mostly like strip malls and kind of. It's not really accessible as far as like meeting places go. So
Right.
it wasn't really good. So when we one of the reasons why I wanted to do this one, what's it called? I'm pretty sure Side Pocket had the same. We both had like the same idea at the same time. Is that like, there's a lot of hackers from New Jersey. There's a lot of people who like would always meet in either basically all meet in New York City, but no one ever wanted to do anything in New Jersey. So like, let's do something in the state because
we also noticed, because that's why we did the history lesson, that New Jersey is hacker AF. But like our theory is that there's a lot of people who are too afraid to come out, and we don't blame them, because kind of like with some of the NYC 2600 groups and other the 2600 groups and other organizations. That there's a very huge corporate slant in New Jersey that is very off-putting, kind of the way corporates are. So we decided, F it, do it live. Next slide, person.
Advanced slide.
I think we bored our audience there we go. So, yeah, and then basically we're like, F it, let's make DEFCON 201 or DC 201. So our first meeting was in March 17, 2017. That's a mouthful. We just were kind of like, hey, we'll find a place, meet up, we'll talk some stuff, maybe we'll do a workshop, maybe hopefully we'll have someone to do some speaking. And then back in March of this year, we actually celebrated our 3rd year anniversary. So we're like the longest lasting out of the New Jersey groups as far as we know. We've had some really amazing stuff. I'm really happy that we have a diverse mix of not only representation in terms of like ethnicity, sex, backgrounds, color, but also just different types of hackers. We've had people who love lockpicking, biohacking, reverse engineering, forensics, knitting, just all sorts of anyone with a STEM background. One thing that I'm going to hand to G.I. Jack a bit about is that I loved, and this was his idea, was when you do become a member, and we can deal with that in the Q&A section, we do have our own Nextcloud that's members only. Do you want to talk a bit about that? Or?
At this point, I almost don't want to talk about it.
It's infrastructure.
So it's infrastructure. Nextcloud is a great piece of software. It's one of the last remaining.
Asterisk.
No, what's called Nextcloud is great until it doesn't work, and it's
we're actively looking for a good replacement.
The Unix experience experience.
Yeah, well, it's like the last piece of LAMP software that people actually use.
That's right, PHP. Yep.
Okay, so basically it's like a combination of, it does calendars, contacts. Basically, it does like a groupware in the browser with a nice web interface, with WebDev, CardDev, CalDev. It can sync up, it has a plugin for email, has a plugin for maps, has a lot of interesting plugins, has a plugin for LibreOffice Online. So there's an HTML5 LibreOffice client, which runs as a Docker container that it forwards information from.
That will kill your computer after 4 gigs.
Yeah. that sometimes actually works as well, like the rest of it. So when like Nextcloud's working, it's pretty cool because it's if you want to run your own like cloud hosted calendar with like WebDAV, but it's still PHP.
See, the way I like to describe it is like it's like if it was all put together with dental amalgam. It's full of mercury. It tastes like shit, and generally is an unpleasant experience.
Right.
But it's very necessary.
Right. If you want to mount a storage space, you can actually backend this directly to an S3 bucket and with like unlimited storage, which is kind of cool.
Yep. And speaking of that, we've met some truly amazing people. We're going to do shots at the end, but we're really fortunate enough to have awesome speakers and people who do workshops such as Liz Fong Jones, Night Owl, Mr. Black Cipher himself, and more. And speaking of that, we're going to talk a little bit about how we sort of set up DEF CON DC 201 here. So advance next slide if someone can do that. Someone advance the next slide, please. Anyone that has blood or there we go. So speaking of transportation and bad infrastructure, we want to let people know why you should actually travel to New Jersey and why DC 601 should stop its bitching. We want to make sure, one of our priorities when we were looking for locations was to make sure where we would be as accessible to everyone as much as possible, including the location itself.
And that it's on, because we've had that problem in the past.
Yes, we'll get into that in a little bit. So we want to make sure like people who have any physical or mental disabilities should be able to enter in. We always put, if there's any sort of thing that might like mentally like harms, they call them trigger warnings. We always try to make sure to get those out there because trust me, it's New Jersey. We will get to those just by existing.
Place, we want to be open to as many people as possible because hackers are an extremely diverse community.
Yes, we want to make an inclusive space in a state that is like the opposite end of the inclusive.
Well, it's like one of the reasons why I kind of formed this is because like we always used to bitch that everything. We always used to bitch at everything. Yeah. We always used to bitch that everything in New Jersey kind of sucked. So we did we were like, why does it suck? It's because there's nothing cool. So like, let's do something cool and try to like turn the state around.
And try not to do like also like some of the mistakes we've seen other like meetings in the past that we're not going to name names. And we also want to make sure that that we have, which Sarasol actually did a bunch of, is extensive documentation. So if you do have to take NJ Transit, the elusive nightmare, you can actually get here.
Yeah, at our current venue, I have listed at least 4 different ways to get there just by public transportation. And if you're driving and parking, I wouldn't recommend it in Jersey City, but I even have a parking space that you can park at. It's like $2 to park, and then you get a bus ticket and head on to DC 201.
Yep. So speaking of that, just to hammer in the point, next slide, please, volunteer.
Advanced slide.
So to kind of stick in that point, because I'm going to talk while the slide hopefully transitions here, that the main reason why we want DC 610 to stop bitching is that no one wants to go to Pennsylvania. Our argument here is, do you see this picture on the screen?
We love you, Heave Hacker.
No, it's not Heave Hacker. It's Docker Eye. So question to everyone in the audience. You see that picture right there? Is that a riot due to all of like the racial injustice and like COVID and stuff, or is that the Eagles winning? We rest our case. Next slide, please advance.
Advanced slide.
It's getting there. It's kind of like this is like a telephone game.
There we go.
So, as we said, we're just another group out of the many DEF CON groups that are across the nation, around the world, and we have the same frustrations and pitfalls that everyone else does, including probably the most difficult one that we still to some degree have struggles with, even though we really have no complaints about this, which is finding a venue. Getting a space, and we agree with DEF CON groups that this needs to be an open space that doesn't have like a door charge fee, or that you can negotiate with the people there in order to meet around and get accessible. And I don't know if we're going to name names here, but we've gone through 2 other locations before our current one. Our first venue was like what you would think of when you're like, okay, let's have like a DEFCON groups meeting, where it was a hacker space and it had giant power tools and a bunch of stuff there. The problem is there was a lot of drama from that hacker space, and
it wasn't exactly in a good corner of Hoboken either.
Yeah, you can probably make some guesses here, but also
not that Hoboken's exactly a good corner in the first place. But
and the other thing about, which is our nail in the coffin, is we'd have people show up with stuff and then their stuff would go missing during the meeting.
Yeah, that was kind of a big no thanks kind of.
And it wasn't any of our members either, because we were very vigorous about that. So we decided to move again, and our next venue was more physically accessible, and the owner liked us, but we kind of got the vibe that the employees didn't. There was a lot of headbutt clashing with like culture and timing and stuff, and so that wasn't working out either.
Yeah. So like the second venue was nice because it was right on the subway, right on the PATH train. Problem was that we while we were pretty much in with the owner of the place, and they wanted to have cool hacker stuff going on there, the employees were kind of working against us. We'd noticed things were like messed up a little bit, and what was the final nail in the coffin was like when some of the employees just up and left without like cleaning up the restaurant, and it got to be a problem enough that we decided that we weren't going to work with them on that.
Well, basically, to elaborate more, we got a complaint that like we somehow like messed up the restaurant, even though we took pictures that night. It was completely clean.
Yeah.
And we didn't go anywhere, and because they gave us the keys to lock it. That's how much the owner trusted us. And so our theory is that an employee messed up, and they were like, oh, no one likes hackers, we'll just blame it on the group that's there.
Easy scapegoat.
So just like Goldilocks, next slide please. We had to find a new location, and we did, and I think we're pretty happy with it. They're called Subculture. They're located on 260, if you add an extra, that's 2600, Newark Avenue in downtown Jersey City, New Jersey. It's about 5 blocks away from the current PATH train, and there's a lot of other avenues in order to get there, as everyone beeps in unison behind us, because it's Jersey City. They're a sandwich shop. They have really affordable food with a lot of different options. They have a huge, like 60-plus inch projection screen that we do all of our like presentations and talks on, kind of similar to what we have virtually here. And they have multiple TVs, power plugs for all of like the devices and stuff we'll bring in. The people who run it are really cool. They, like us, came out really in support of Black Lives Matter and a bunch of other things in the city, and we've had truly a great working relationship with them. That's not any BS. Like, we're really shocked by that. And what I think personally is really cool in the back, which Cyril sometimes helps with, and so is Jack, is they have a whole Raspberry Pi video game setup. They have like
Retro
5 kiosks of just emulated retro games. We didn't make that. That was already there.
Yeah. And I have to say something, just a note on the affordable food bit. It's not like McDonald's cheap, but it is good for what you get, which is a big thing considering a lot of the places that people meet afterwards for like meetings in New York City and around Jersey City, they're often like dim, dinky bars in the middle of like Midtown Manhattan, where a simple burger is like $35. I don't fly with that. We're hackers. We're broke. We're not 530. We're executives. We're hackers in the middle of New Jersey.
Yeah. Do you have any comments you want to add on that? Next slide. Okay.
Yeah, food's good. The food's good.
So, yeah.
It's just it is a warning. It is the hipster district, so.
I mean,
well, yeah. I would say the district is, but like the venue isn't. They're very down to earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they attract hipsters just by proximity, I guess.
Yeah.
But...
Plus, we're out of Hoboken, and none of us ever want to go. So, next slide, so we can get rid of the watch of Hoboken out of our mouths.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about how we sort of. Okay, now that we had a venue, what do we do next? So the big one is get the word out. There's a classic saying that I hate, which is if you build a bigger mousetrap, they will come. That is an effing lie. As a lot of you guys know who make hardware and software projects, you often probably put stuff on GitHub, and there's kind of that meme where you can get like 5,000 followers on Twitter, but you get someone to actually follow your GitHub, and that's like an Olympic event.
Or worse, contribute to it. Make one pull request.
Yes. So the thing about it is, like, you have to get the word out there. You have to do that thing that hackers have a hard time doing a lot of times, which is the socials You have to. We're basically, if you're a hacker group, you're a social group for antisocial people. So the way we had to get the word out is we had to do extensive social media presence. I will say that we are all lucky where, whether for good or for worse, when I was on Twitter, I had a following. G.I. Jack, I would say, has followings or zombies or minions or something. Cerecells or something. Cerecells.
I got some an odd collection of weirdos.
And Cerecell's known for his work, and a lot of other people who are on stream right now are known for that. So we did have the advantage of a lot of people migrating over to our social media stuff, but that didn't, excuse that we had to make a meetup.com, and now we currently pay for it. And
like even if you have a world-class team of hackers, like in corner of hackerdom, pretty much, you're not going to be, outright getting followers to your DEFCON group unless you actually put in the work to make it visible.
And part of that is, even when you have all your social media stuff together, you need to have something that, as they said in The Big Lebowski, ties the room together. So we've gone through multiple versions of the website. The first version is something. The first and third version was stuff I had to spin up just to have it. The second version, all I'll say about it is when the person designing the website, when you ask them to put the link to the email on the main page, and they say, "Oh, I don't think that's like a main feature or a priority feature."
Yeah.
That person's no longer in charge of the website anymore. So instead, we give it to Cerecell, and everything's magic.
Yeah, no. The one thing I have to say is visual, like synchronicity. Make sure that everything is readable, accessible, everything's put together. All your information is in the site, on the page. The front page has the most important information, including contact information. That's something our previous website editor lacked.
And the big one is that we also make sure that, like, there's nothing tracking, there's no plugins, it doesn't use any scripting.
No JavaScript, no bots, no trackers, no one-pixel dots. And, the worst thing I'll do is a few CSS animations, tops, and that's plain CSS. And if your browser has those turned off or disabled, usually for accessibility reasons, it'll just gracefully fall back.
One of the quick features of Insulators, we're a big fan of Can't Stop the Band, and also Keep It Simple, Stupid.
Speak for yourself about the band.
But, New Jersey parking lot people. I'm speaking as the state. No, and then the big one here is we also tried to do a balance of popular platforms versus ethical platforms. What I mean by that is, like, we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, because everyone's on there. But that doesn't mean you can't have, for example, a Mastodon or something in the Fediverse, or an independent blog, or Onion that we run. We do have an Onion landing page. And
that's honestly something that I admire about this group, and something that a lot of more free culture-minded, open source-minded groups could probably... Gesundheit.
Stuck in my throat.
Anyway, it's something they could learn about. Go to the platforms that people are on. Go where the people are. Even if it's actually Facebook, it's run by a lizard king who lies to Congress through his teeth. Doesn't matter. The people are there.
He has teeth?
Oh, maybe he doesn't. His gills.
Yes, but real quick, and that's a whole, because we're going to go to the next thing in a bit. That's where I just lost my train of thought real quick. On Oh, okay. So we're gonna go on the next train of thought there. But yeah, and that also, if you're on a popular platform, we talk about, or like Mastodon and stuff, we let people know about that. So that's a great way where we've moved people over to, like, potentially better stuff. And then the last thing, which is big, is that we also are very local. So despite hackers and digital stuff before COVID, and we'll get to that in a second. We do make Cerecell design flyers. We print them out. I go everywhere and hang them up so that, whether you're at a library or a bar or something, or a college,
we basically paint the town black and white with all these flyers. We I designed the flyers to be instantly noticeable and readable from a distance, so you'd see them hanging on the side of a bulletin board from the street, and you'd see, oh, that's a DEFCON 201 flyer. Or you'd think, oh, that's an interesting flyer. I want to see what it is. Because it just has just the right balance of information and white space.
So I'm going to do the next slide and then hand this off to G.I. Jack. So next slide, please. We are poking you with the pointer to change this. There we go. You want to read our
All right, cool.
what we're about.
We're an open technology.
Goals.
Hashtag goals. We are an open technology group. We welcome all skill. We welcome regardless of background and skill and in person. Doing instead of talking, helping each other learn and grow, and give back to the community. So it's just basically we encourage everyone to show up. We're not like I don't think there's too many people in this scene anymore. They're kind of like the elite kind of like badass types or want to be badass types. So I don't really think that's like too much of an issue in this scene anymore. Unlike 30 years ago. So
5 years ago.
maybe another loop. But it's just basically if you just want to call up, you have like tech problems. We do a lot of presentations. We like having we like having speakers. We get speakers. A lot of times we do get like the type of speakers who actually do talks at cons, like actual big cons. So it's like we've really established ourselves as kind of like this is kind of like a minor league talk circuit, which I think is kind of cool. We bring a lot of projects.
And that bit with I feel lacks the end and should be a drive for all DEFCON groups out there is giving back to the community. We just don't want to. This is where we get the corporatism from. We don't want to exist in a vacuum and just be like, oh, we'll just hand 50 kids like some high-end laptops and then call it a day. And everyone else is struggling, hungry, broke, everything's broken, and all of that. So our whole thing is we reach out to our city. We actually have good contacts with like the government in our city and local representatives.
We talk with the mayor even we're on that level where we're actively working with our city government, our local government, and not in the way that most hackers work with government or against rather, but more that we're working on more progressive programs and policies for technology advancement and education.
Yep, and also again, when you said there's some things we don't like about the government, including the federal government, but what we want to do is it's just one thing to constantly complain. It's another thing of okay, you have a list of problems, you're a hacker, what are you going to do about it? And that's the key. We do something about it, and that should be the strive for every group. So next slide. I think Jack can probably take this one real quick.
Next slide, please.
We're like 2/3 of the way there.
Okay, so you can check this out. We have a constitution. We are a group that if you hang out long enough, you have to join. It's just kind of it's like a bit of a formality. We do keep a member list. Part of the constitution is a code of conduct.
Okay, whose idea was it to put that on the slide? LOL.
Where? Where's LOL?
Oh, the giant.
COC.
Right. Yeah.
Who do you think put that in there?
It's our code of conduct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You would keep reminded of the gutter, man. Gosh.
You're already in New Jersey. We're already in the gutter. You don't have to.
You don't have to just work.
So anyhow, next slide, please.
So it's basically it outlines kind of everything, which is not acceptable. It just boils down to just don't be an asshole. Don't be a dick.
Yep.
And don't disparage anybody else. You're not like cool for doing it. So Electronic Frontier Alliance.
I'll take this part. So yeah, one of the things that we did, I don't know if we were the first group, but we were one of the first groups to show what's called the Electronic Frontier Alliance. And yes, I know it's misspelled. Someone's keyboard, it was me. They're drunk, or I was drunk, aka Pebcac. Fight me. So, the Electronic Frontier Alliance is a subsection of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They're a grassroots, as my ride shows up in the background, is a grassroots network of community and campus the cops are trying to show us that campus organizations across the United States. Basically, they a lot of their terms kind of agree with a lot of our bulletin points that we talked about earlier, where they want to promote privacy and surveillance and anti-surveillance and security at a local level for like real people who actually need to use it. So
yeah, they're good people. Work with them. Fight for your rights online.
And if you're a DEFCON organization or an organization and you want to join and look over that, you can go to eff.org/fight. So next slide, please. I'm surprised they haven't kicked us off yet. So one of the big things that we particularly were trying to do this year is conventions and gatherings. So just a bit of highlights of what we do outside of the meeting. Sometimes we have a little specialty outside, like we've had a little code, like everyone gets together and does a code hackathon or whatever. But in 2018 and 2019, we worked with the Liberty Science Center. It's like a giant interactive science museum that's world famous. to put on what's called NJ Makers Day. It's a thing that happens in New Jersey where all the different libraries and stuff do like making and crafting and things like that. And Liberty Science Center never did one. We didn't have one in our area, so we did it. And a lot of people showed up, a lot more people than we thought. And we lost a lot of sleep on that. But it was really fun. We really got to showcase a lot of local, like, makers, and Tool was there for the lockpicking. It was really great. And then you went to the wellness convention?
Yeah, so the New Jersey Performing Arts Center had hosted a small group of local wellness-oriented folks it was mostly things geared towards like diet, exercise, health, and things like that, but DEFCON 201 was there, and you might think...
Hacking is an exercise.
Well, yeah, you might think, okay, what does hacking have anything to do with your health and things? But there's actually quite a bit.
A lot of it's draining your health. It's an exercise in frustration.
Right, but, so basically I was there to talk about digital hygiene and how the things you put online can actually affect your health based on, the effects that it has on your mental well-being, your social well-being, your emotional well-being, and your spiritual well-being. So we pretty much packaged all that together and put a bunch of advice sheets out to basically teach people on how to be more aware of things like that.
And that's a big thing because because that's what she said, but no, is that we love DEF CON and we like hacker conventions and gatherings, but we also, again, want to make sure we reach people. So we have to step outside of our comfort zone and try other venues and topics that you would never normally see hacker stuff, and that's how you get really interesting people.
Like health things, because being doxxed is not healthy.
Nope, and neither is trying to program in Rust. And then we were at speaking of hacker conventions, we were at this amazing one called Hackers Next Door by the Tech Learning Collective back in December, which was basically kind of like a more extreme anarchist version of Hope for 2 days. It was really fun. Jack, are you okay? And then the last thing we did, which is 8 million years ago in what was known as February 2020, was myself, which is Side Pocket, Sarah Sell, and an awesome dude who has a show on our live streams called N Commander. We went to PAX East, which is a major video game convention out in Boston and in Beantown, trying to avoid crazy drivers. And we put on a panel about video game hacking, which maxed out like the 600-person limit there.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating because it's us putting things together, but it was really, really fun, and we let some amazing people there. Next slide, please. So we plan on doing a lot more of this type of stuff in 2020, and so COVID-19 happened, or 2020, the dumpster fire that keeps on burning. So quick bullet points, if you aren't aware. 1, we're in hell. 2, how the F did New Jersey become the stable state? Thank you, Murphy. Murphy's our governor.
We're doing pretty good over here compared to, like, every other state, honestly.
Like, it's not that we don't have any issues up here. It's just we literally look on Twitter and the news and crap ourselves with seeing all the rest of the stuff going on.
Let's see, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida.
We're really listing so many states that need to quarantine when you visit New Jersey that we might as well just blockade the rest of the union.
Yeah, except maybe New York, because they're kind of doing things okay.
Also, we need their economy or what's ever left of it. So, they also, just to note, the U.S. federal government has a Gestapo now, so we are all crapping our pants, which is why we've been on a big privacy and security run, right, Jack?
Trump secret police and shit. Real scary things going on.
And this is not tinfoil stuff. Ironically, the tinfoil people think this is the tinfoil stuff that's happening right in front of their face, so go figure. And we're kind of embracing the fact that we, like I described, America, we're a third world country with first world money, and now we're losing the first world money. Next slide. So, because of all of that happening...
next slide, please.
Yep. We, like many other groups, had to do virtualization. So in March, we had a big, giant 30-year anniversary plan where we're going to have parties and games and blackjack and hookers and everything, and then COVID-19 happened. So within the course of literally 2 days, we had to completely virtual, and we've been doing those ever since. The way we do it is we use, how did we do it? We use a service called Restream.io, which allows us to send to 1 RPM broadcast, and it sends those signals out to multiple different streams. We're currently on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube, RIP, Mixer, LOL, Microsoft. Because none of us want to go to Facebook gaming. We're not gaming or Facebook. So that's how we broadcast this stuff out. And we also, which I'm currently working on, archiving our content on YouTube, the Internet Archive, our own, a cool instance of PeerTube, and that should say DTube. I accidentally put DLive again because, again, PEBCAC. And we've increased our social media footprint to the point where we were sick and tired of just using these streams only for once a month. So instead we were like, hey, let's become our own TV channel and just host the stuff that we've been itching to teach. So as you can see in the picture here, which I'm going to get into, I have my own show called Masters of Unlocking. I also have another show called Crypto Barons, which is teaching actual technology on cryptocurrency, not like snake oil stuff and market bull crap. You can go to Hoboken if you want that stuff. G.I. Jack has a show about Arch Linux and video games, right?
Yes.
I have a show called Archvile where I play video games on Arch Linux, and I show kind of more of the technical stuff of how do you actually get everything running on Arch Linux, and I do a little bit of hacking, not much, some light stuff. I show a few tools.
Yeah. Recently he decided that Doom, Ultimate Doom on Ultra Nightmare mode was too easy, so he did the actual hard mode you could do on Doom and unboxed and configured a PinePhone.
I was trying not to, I don't want to talk about that. I was trying to avoid talking about that.
Okay. That's the trigger warning there. You can see the episode. It's archived.
And was Ed Commander, who also does a bi-weekly show called Control Hack,
Hack and Commander. And we miss him to death.
He's pulling his hair out just thinking about the PinePhone. Yeah. Kind of fun to touch.
And I still want to try the PinePhone.
That's what she said. But real quick, and then at one point, here you go. Happy birthday. And what we're saying here is that we also made, which you can find on our blog, if you go to defcon21.org, click news. We made a blog about what hackers could do during COVID-19, including running folding at home, which Jack blew 2 GPUs on to run our folding at home. I unfortunately forgot our folding at home team number. Does anyone know it offhand? Or I'm an idiot. But while I'm talking about it, and we also teamed up with ThugCrowd and the EFF to kind of do privacy and security streams during like the Black Lives Matter protests, and we've attended. I won't say who, but we've attended our local Black Lives Matter protests in Jersey City. It was real fun. So until they figure that out, next slide, please. We're near the end here. Don't worry, guys. Light at the end of the tunnel. So we want to quickly go into while we have 3 of us here as we're looking at the PinePhone like cavemen discovering fire for the first time. What was it? What was that Amazon phone so long ago they made? Fire OS or something, which you can do. So we wanted to go into each what like some of our specialties are. Just the 3 of us. We have a lot of amazing members, but just while we're here, so I'm going to go first. Hi, it is me, Side Pocket. I've been friends with people at the open organization, the Lockpickers, for many, many years. One of my mentors is the Night Owl, who I absolutely love. You can check him out on Twitter at NITE0WL. And basically 3 years ago, I showed up to Tool, New Jersey, and they have their own meetings. You can actually, their Tool's doing a whole workshop, all of DEF CON. I believe they have their own live stream. I think it's TOOOL Live. That's Tool with 3 O's on Twitch. We what do you call it? So I went there and I learned how to pick locks. Basically, there were some issues where we tried to get certain lockpicker who is now no longer invited to anything because he's a massive hacker fail to show up to lockpicking. And went so well, I started going to pool meetings, both New York and New Jersey, with the same training kit because they needed the resources. And then after losing my mind with COVID, I decided to make my own show called Master of Unlocking. The picture that you see there, there's even more stuff added to it, so it's even bigger now, which is what all women like to hear. And some men, I do appreciate them too. Pansexuals in the house, whoop whoop. So we keep adding stuff. I actually just recently finished a whole tubular lock set for next Sunday during the Master of Unlocking, which I call the show because in joke to Resident Evil, and eventually it's going to be 2 cases. Actually, if you guys could hold the mic for half a second, I actually want to do this real quick because I forgot to.
All right.
Just do me a favor with the PinePhone is when you get frustrated with it, just hand it back to me instead.
That's the kit. That's how heavy Locksporting gets because, as a guy named Hunter S. Thompson says, when you start a serious Locksport collection, you tend to lose count on where it's going. So that's what kind of I do. And if you can do next slide, now we're going to get into some true elite hack stuff. Arch Linux represent.
Notorious lockpicker Hunter S. Thompson. Yes, here's my project.
Hold the mic to your face.
Here's this project, Ninja OS. It's a live OS. You can see the website is ninjaos.org.
Ooh, we're the future.
What's it called? Designed this cute little logo in Krita. It's a mostly inclusive desktop. It's got security. It's based on XFCE4.
That should be its tagline, the mostly inclusive desktop.
What's it called? It's security tools. It's got privacy tools. It's got media tools. It's got recovery tools in case you need to recover like a hard disk. It's got like test disk and like X4 and delete and like all what's it called?
So Jack,
No disk utility and like all the usual like little hacker tools for like restoring or recovering data or restoring.
So what you're saying is whoever
disk
uses
partitions.
Ninja OS is a giant tool.
Whoever uses Ninja OS has a giant tool. Okay, so it mostly has like things like an X archiver. Supports all the archive formats. If you double click on most things, it has a word processor, it has a calculator, it has a numeric, it has a spreadsheet. So you like most common file types, it'll open. So if it's like a live OS. Like most live OSs, it boots, it doesn't remember anything, resets it itself every time it restarts. All changes are saved to RAM in like a RAM disk. So it's not trackable, but at the same time has all the.
Next slide, please. I thought we had because the guy was rambling. But yeah, and we did this really fast, so I hope you have a sandwich taken away.
Oh, yeah, so, basically, I do a bunch of things. I'm making a video game, I'm designing a Linux operating system, I'm working on a port of Linux and other operating systems.
Next slide,
for
please.
Nintendo Switch. I design and develop a community for, next slide, by the way, a community around 8-bit music for the Nintendo. And in addition to that, I also am working on a couple of programming languages, a web browser, a deduplicated file storage backend for retrievable file objects, so things like ROMs and things like that can be deduplicated.
He's literally his own GNU server, except it actually works.
Probably other things too. If you're interested in any of this, get in touch with me at Twitter or whatever at Cyrusel.
Yep. So next slide, please, because we're actually at the end here. So quick future plans for DEFCON 201. We currently have submitted, again, outside of our comfort zone, to New York Comic-Con and Exotica, which is this porno convention that happens in Edison, New Jersey. We're going to be trying to talk about like sex workers' rights and Sesta Fosta. So cross your fingers we get accepted. We hope to see you all at many conventions next year, including DEFCON 29, Hope 2020, RubyCon, The Returns, the what do you call that? DerbyCon, Resurrects, Cats and Dogs Living Together, Mass Hysteria. We're also trying to organize with the city, which got delayed due to COVID, Privacy and Security Week. That's citywide, so in the way they have like a giant art festival citywide, we want to do like a citywide thing for privacy and security. Again, we're reaching outside of our comfort zones. You can see us at many conventions and places that you normally would not see hackers, including us, which we encourage everyone to do. And a very long term, we're linking up with some really awesome people throughout the state to try to make a B-side, what we call B-Sides Turnpike, or first ever like truly real non-corporate all hacker made HackerCon. We also want to shout out there that we hate being the only New Jersey group right now, so if you want to make something, even if we're 8 million miles away, reach out to us. We will help you, especially with promotion.
Also, if anyone's interested in a DEF CON group in Suffolk County, Long Island, I might be able to help you set up for DEF CON 631. Yep. So get in touch with me, and I have a couple of venues in mind and a meeting structure for that.
So next slide, please. This is the slide where normally we take questions, but I'll quickly tell you where to contact us. You can find us on the DEF CON Discord, on the DEF CON group Discord. We are on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. You can go to our website, DEFCON 201, and you can go to our email at info@defcon201.org. Next slide, please. Final slide. So thank you all for going through this talk with us here. Again, our website's defcon201.org. You can find us on Twitter at defcon201nj. Here comes the giant hook to yank us away. We're on Instagram and a bunch of stuff on defcon201. You can find us at Mastodon, DEFCON 201 Who Sucks at Social, and shout out to BSI Lab, Gonzo, Black Cypher, Inoculant, Squirtle, Hev Hacker, Night Owl, Johnny Xmas, Logic S, Saint My Ninjas, Nexus 6, and many, many others, including Jason Street and every other DEFCON group who put this together.
And Zoe Braderman, too.
Yes, Hacker Planet, Jersey, Dirty Jersey represent. I'm getting a drink. F you all, your mother.
Also, I'm the one with the payphone there. Just
Off the mic. Let's get out of here.
yeah, out of here.
All right. All right, we will be murdering trivia. Thank you for everyone for having us, and I see.
All right. Sorry, we're running a little late with the next presentation. We'll just.
All right. All right. I wonder if you guys can hear me. Just clap if you can. All right, I'm seeing some hearts coming through. Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much to those guys. When I started my own group, which was quite recently, I basically told everyone what DEFCON groups is all about, and I told them that generally some of the groups do a quarterly meeting, some of the groups do a monthly meeting, but these guys, the DC 201, they've only ever really done one meeting, but it's been continuing since I think they started the whole thing. They're constantly doing it. Their Twitch channel is always there's always something happening there, and it's always very interesting. So it's well worth checking them out.
Hello everyone out there really on our stream. Thank you for watching our talk. We're going to be hosting more DEFCON content throughout the day. Sorry we couldn't take your thing in chat. So yeah, thank you all for watching. We will be back with another live stream at around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're gonna do EFF trivia, and then before they strangle me, I'm gonna do more of a tour of DEF CON. So enjoy the rest of DEF CON, and we will see you at 8 p.m. Peace.